This is one day later. Confirmed, no copyright issues. Did make a mistake on the price. What I paid was $30. It was supposedly on sale, but as opposed to 40. I tend to doubt those things though. They tend to be fake. Anyway, so a correction there. And then continuing on. So we had an Englishman. Get into the court record here. His name was John Wilson. He was dining with a woman when the main character of the game, who's not listed here, his name is somewhat difficult to remember because it has a lot of syllables, walked up to him and just said hi. And then turned to leave and found a gun on the ground. And so he picked it up and then turned back to John Wilson to hand it back to him. Supposedly John might have dropped it. And John got shot in the chest. The main character doesn't seem to have been able to ascertain who shot him. So these two people were also there. This guy was trying to peddle some gold coin, but lost it on the floor. This guy supposedly stole the gold coin because he is a soldier and doesn't make enough money, and so he stole it, essentially. There was, according to the main character, a woman sitting across from John Wilson. That woman might have been related to this guy, potentially, because she might also be low on money. This waiter walked in on the scene right after John Wilson was shot. This person is of interest because he drew this map on the back of a business card. And this business card might potentially not be his business card, but instead the same business card that, or different copy of the same business card that John had. Which is not actually a business card, it's a medical report card. And the reason why medical report cards are of interest is because the waiter, although this design does look different from the back, does it? It doesn't actually look like the medical report. There's a flower there. There's no flower on the medical report card. So I guess not. Is that he has a medical problem. So he's coughing. The waiter is coughing up blood. That might be related to John going to the doctor. I don't know. This time I made a big deal about how in this picture you can't see that the steak is partly eaten because it's obscured by the chair. Whereas this picture you can, and it seems like how much is eaten protrudes into the field of view, how much you can see in the previous picture. However, I think that's just artistic laziness. Now thinking about it, I severely doubt that this really has anything to do with as any evidence or anything. It just seems like John just partially ate the steak. Although it is interesting to note that this is curved. It's just like an art mistake. You typically cut your steak with a knife before putting bites in your mouth. You usually don't bite the steak directly, unless you're oh, the name just slipped my mind. Molly Schuyler. Unless you're Molly Schuyler, you usually don't bite directly into a steak, and so you wouldn't see curved cuts on a steak. You would see only straight ones. Criticizing the art here. Yeah, probably just an art liberty. Now we also see that when this picture was taken, John Wilson is in a chair facing away. Now he wouldn't be facing this way because he would have been eating a steak, so he would have been facing the steak. And he would not have been shot from this way. He would have been shot from across the table because he was facing the stake. So when the main character picks up the gun and approaches John wouldn't have been facing him. You would have been facing the table. Now he could, of course, the main character could approach from the side or, the back or whatever. He probably the side because he wanted to talk to him. But you could see maybe why the sergeant said that he would approach from the back, because he would have, because John would have been facing the table and he wouldn't have been able to approach from the front. But after the deed was done, someone rotated the chair around such that the bullet hole went in from away from the table, making it more probable that the main character could have actually shot him. And the bullet came from the opposite direction. However, that's a very low IQ move, because who would sit at a table turned away like this? That doesn't make any sense, and obviously it looks suspicious, but whatever. They did it. So who could have shot him at close range, where when he was facing the table would have to be somebody who was sitting at the table across from him, and it has to be close range because of the powder, although the bullet not going all the way through is suspicious about being close range, but whatever. And so it would have to be the woman sitting across the table, and that's kind of lame and not very creative. There isn't a very big twist to that. We keep mentioning this woman, like the obvious choice for the culprit would then be just that woman that we just keep mentioning. But again, that's not very creative. I mean, this is a very big twist to that. So, kind of lame. But this is the tutorial trial, so maybe you expect it to be a little bit lame. I don't know. Keep going. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. I'll eventually remember that name, but it'll take me a while. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. And this is very tutorial. Trying to make tutorial into an adjective. Tutorially, but so things are going to be drawn out. It's going to excessively explain things. But Ace Attorney generally is like that, where it tends to pad out with extra dialogue that's unnecessary, extra wringing of hands and cold sweats and face in the hands, when the player, me, would know that what evidence I need to present and what argument I need to make. I've already figured that out by now, but it's so strung out. You'll get what I mean. I'm kind of not describing this very well, but you'll get what I mean later. When I complain about this in specific instances of it happening, it's one of my biggest complaints about Ace Attorney. Too many words of Ace Attorney. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Oh no. I'm not gonna read this. I tried to examine this before, it wouldn't let me. Are you saying I can't examine this until it goes to examination tutorial? I get it. Can you finish? There you go. Yes, you already said that. Okay, so yeah, use the arrow keys to rotate it around. Use WASD to move the crosshair around. If it pulses, there's something there. Got it. Okay. It says Hata Clinic on the medical report card. I hate clinics almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Well, no one likes surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. Because you had a cold? Brr, I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have had only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Well, travel to the United States and you'll get severe Japanese tourist syndrome and you'll get lots of colds in rapid succession. If it is true that you've only had one cold in your entire life. And no, we will not give you an injection in the arm if you have a cold, because if you have a cold, we literally cannot do anything for you. Except maybe like something like ivermectin, but usually we won't. Well, whatever. Let's keep looking for clues. We won't want to miss anything. Fortunately, I can't read the Japanese, so that's going to give me some issues. I've seen what this kanji here means once in my life, but I've long forgotten what it is. Anyway, this means origin. This is all one thing. Oh, it's a dentist, okay. It looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record of a long-term treatment, that's why. With a family doctor, I imagine. Well, I can't imagine. Going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. Well, if you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors, then? There's nothing really to say there. Most people do not like going to the doctor. But sometimes you have this issue where going to the doctor is better than the issue. Why would you? They make you drink horrible tasting medicine. They give you painful injections. You don't have to if you don't want to. I guess maybe in Japan in this day and age, yes. In this fictional universe, they make you. And then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege. All in there at your lowest ebb. You sound like a model patient. With a bad case of stubbornness, no less, for which the only cure is a very bitter medicine indeed. That was very relevant. Why is this so... This is strung out too, oh goodness. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. HIPAA! HIPAA! I guess if it's evidence in court in this universe, that doesn't apply, because remember, this is not... Like, I don't know, like, I'm so not... I know so little about law, I don't know if you can actually reveal, like, medical information if it relates to... if it's evidence in, like, a murder trial. Like, that's like... I don't know if that's an exception to HIPAA. And there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? Oh, someone else? Oh, the wrong person got the tooth pulled? Is that why there's blood coming out of the waiter's mouth because he also had a tooth pulled? Yes, blood will come out of your mouth potentially if you have a molar pulled. It would seem so. Just before the incident, he'd had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they use laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. It more so just kind of makes you forget everything afterwards, and that is quite creepy. There's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. And this shows that the meal he was eating, he was not actually eating. And the reason why is because you get nauseous and you throw it back up. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Medical record card's information has been updated in the court record. Okay, so now we know that he could not have been eating his steak. Of course, he could have been. He could have just been violating the doctor's orders. But we're this is like Ace Attorney. We kind of like, this is just kind of how this game works. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. And here we go.
Yes!
Well, I think, But what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer. I wish I could. But first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ranosuke, everyone stumbles in their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it, except you stumble every single time, for which I would worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright, and thanks for the advice. Torakuta-san, this is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Oh, I see, and I don't see. What is it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up. This is another annoying thing about this dialogue. There's a contradiction. There's a discrepancy. Something doesn't add up. No, you shouldn't, start with that. You just say, according to this medical report card, this is true. That is not consistent with your statement that this is true. Just keep it, short. Don't, be all dramatic about it. I don't know.
Objection!
Dear me, dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever may or may not have got done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, remember, Ranosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. Witnesses' testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. Then they have to do this again. They do this back and forth when you're just trying to say something. So it takes all of these lines of dialogue just for the main character to say something simple. Why? Are they trying to build this dramatic tension and suspense? It doesn't work, because I know eventually Ranosuke is going to make this statement. They're just going to rig and roll around between the prosecutor and the judge before that happens. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides the pale-faced pupil who could possibly... This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hada Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? It was supposed to mean something to me? Is that supposed to mean something to me? It doesn't mean anything to me. So the report card said don't eat anything until the anesthesia wears off. Whereas it being a dental clinic would mean that he couldn't eat anything because he had dental work done just then. Both are reasons why you may not want to eat, because the anesthesia, of course, will make you vomit it back up. The dental work, you get food in your tooth hole, essentially. But I don't like the discrepancy there. Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just a tooth extracted. What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result the victim had been forbidden from eating, why have to say this if I told you stuff? Just what are you trying to say, cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't. Torikuta-san! What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner. And no one has mentioned that they could have just violated the doctor's orders.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Renosuke? Oh, they swiveled the table? Take it literally? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beefsteak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of your turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Well, the music already changed, Kazuma, so that already started. Got it, so, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been not the victim, because he had tooth extracted. Because supposedly he obeys the medical orders without question. It's just assumed. Not me, because I was eating at a different table. Not the two witnesses, because they were at a different table. A yet unknown third party. Because we need to get at that woman. Obviously, it can only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
You will not let this go, will you? There is no such person.
Yes!
There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. This is such a weak thing, though. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a trial relentlessly, which may involve cutting people. Kazuma, are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, Counsel, I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have an issue with them, those two witnesses in the stand. What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So if it now turns out the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit in murder? Let's go back to the Hebrew law. If you bear false witness in a murder trial, you will be given the sentence that would have been given to the convicted of murder, which, in that case, would be death by stoning. Negative. There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. Oh dear, if that was true, that would be a problem. You just made a slip-up. I was just following orders. That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Korakuda-san? You were just following orders? Hold on now. Hold on, lad. I was just... Nuremberg says hi. Say you never saw the gentlewoman? When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? It's like Pain trying to... I know you call him Ouchie, but I know him as Pain. Even though he's time traveling back to this game, he's still Pain. Is this true, you pair? He's covering for himself by saying this. Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order! Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this. And who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Raonosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchie had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there is only a handful of possibilities. It could only have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any idea Any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly? Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing. And what does the defense have to say about all this, well, Your Excellency, no time to think. I'm just gonna have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes into my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is... The judge is not in the rack. Which means... Oh, this is interesting. It's gotta be... this guy.
Yes!
Oh. I guess that's wrong. I think, counsel, that you may want to close your ears as well as your eyes. Otherwise, the sighs of disappointment in the courtroom may very well deafen you. If you feel you must close your eyes in a crisis, suggest you keep your mouth shut next time, too. Otherwise, I may have used the influence I have in this courtroom to shut it. Permanently. I don't know what it is about that prosecutor exactly, but it really makes me wince in pain sometimes. I get the reference. I don't have a great deal of influence myself, but believe me, I can find other ways to make you keep your mouth shut as well. Alright, don't get angry. I'll think again. There must be a clue somewhere in all the evidence in the court record. Actually, now that I think about it, there might be some pieces of evidence I haven't thoroughly examined yet. And what does the defense have to say about all this? Well, Your Excellency... So can I go... it doesn't let me go to evidence, right? Like, I can't... This is interesting. This got a wrong answer. This is besides the prosecution, which rules this person out. This person is dead. Who in the world? How in the world? This guy represents the military. But he's not very powerful, that is. How is this guy the right answer? Well, I got plenty of... I have enough health to do 2 more tries, so... Is it really? Huh. There's only two people left, and that's this dude and this dude.
Yes!
Oh, that's wrong. Okay. Oh no! This is I'm getting my butt kicked. Not him, not him. Besides the prosecution, dead. These are the witnesses that are manipulated. This last guy left. Completely irrelevant, though. This is ridiculous.
Yes!
What's the evidence? Oh, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. A process of elimination. Hosonaga-san, the waiter who took the stand earlier?
Attention!
Poppycock. What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If that is, the man truly were a waiter. What if he truly were? Come on, Ryanosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, as proven by this evidence. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga? Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence, if they're wielding it somehow here. Cool. Present such.
Yes!
Plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree. It shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency. That's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Just turn the card over, Judge. Would someone please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Osanaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of the business card reveals the man in question's profession, his true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely... Good gracious. That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power, absolute power, as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Hosonaga. I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. You should have realized it's a possibility when you decide to make the sketch on your business card. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, this is a flashback. I'm not going to read a flashback. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So you mean to say... you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course. Your salary must be terrible. I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. That was a Gumshoe reference, by the way. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. They're obviously not. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That, at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Ahem. Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable. As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair. Beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant to report the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once. It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of this relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect, well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yume University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I am fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. Only one? Well, I mean, Englishwoman would be pretty rare, right? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Jezael Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying at the research laboratory of Yume University Medical Faculty. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
But Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions. Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir? You will locate this Jezael Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means we'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Coughing some blood. Nothing will get in my way. Besides dying in the process. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student, Jezael Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Excellency. Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. To be continued. And to be continued.